Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Kim, and today is Wind Down Wednesday. Wind Down Wednesday is the day that we talk about wine. We're going to talk about wine pairings. We're going to talk about vintage. We're going to talk about tools that can enhance the wine drinking experience, eventually. Today, you are getting the origin story that nobody asked for. I'm going to explain, share with you why I love wine. And it's not really the reason that you think. I was interested in wine around 11 or 12. Not because I'd had any. My parents did not play. There was no underage drinking in our house. But I loved old movies. And my mom and I used to watch them together a lot for two reasons. One, we like to watch old movies. And two, we didn't have cable. We lived in a rural area and there was one cable company and they were awful. And after one too many unpleasant phone calls with customer service, my dad threw up the figurative deuces and bought an antenna. So it was network television and PBS old movies for us. I think my favorite movies were the ones where the ladies were glamorous and they'd go to restaurants and they'd have these delicate glasses where a waiter would serve them this liquid. It was usually red. And they were laughing and talking and just looking amazing. And that level of extra spoke directly to me. I wanted that feeling. I wanted my own glass and my own fancy outfit. I wanted to feel like that. It was just something I really can't explain, something that's still with me. Whenever I think about wine, I think about that little girl and how she wanted to feel. And whenever I do have wine as an adult, it does something to me. Anyway, we're going to fast forward, or actually go backward, to when I was 21. When I was 21, my mom and I went down to the local Winn-Dixie. Winn-Dixie's a grocery store in case you don't know. And we picked up a bottle of Boone's Farm Fuzzy Navel. Now, if you don't know what Boone's Farm is, let me give you a little story to give you some context. If you ever watched the Parkers, it was well known that Nikki Parker loved Alizé. It was a running joke. There was even a little bit of an inference that maybe Alizé was a little lowbrow, but let me tell you, Alizé is delicious. What's not to love about fruit juice infused with vodka? Win-win. Anyway, if you have Alizé and you put Alizé here, you're gonna put Boone's Farm here. Boone's Farm was Alizé's cheaper, countryer, fifth cousin once removed. There was no exotic fruit juice, there was no vodka, and there was barely any alcohol. There were just copious amounts of sugar and the inference of alcohol. Boone's Farm is more alcohol adjacent wine, if anything else, and although I'm clowning it to my 21-year-old heart with an undiscovered palate, it was wonderful. Besides, it was something I did with my mom, so I'm always gonna love it for that reason, even though I don't drink it anymore. Even when I was having Boone's Farm with my mom and my dad was laughing at us for our unsophisticated choice in adult beverage, I knew there was something more. That drinking wine on the couch with my mom was awesome, but it wasn't that fancy, glamorous feeling that I wanted. So fast forward a few more months, and my friends and I, by then we had our own cars, drove to the neighboring city and we made a reservation at the fanciest restaurant in town. And we ordered our food and we ordered wine. And I was so excited, but I didn't know what I was doing. So when I ordered my wine and the waiter came and poured it and I had a taste of it, and it was vile. It was awful. I did not know what I was doing. The wine I ordered was the cheapest glass of wine on the menu because I was 21 and I was broke. And the wine that I ordered did not go with the meal I ordered. I had fish with garlic and lemon, and this wine was a full-body red that had hints of chocolate and spice. So imagine you got chocolate and spice and lemon and butter and garlic, which is just a full mouth of bleh. It was awful. And I was so disappointed because I had wanted that fancy experience. And so I started to wonder, maybe I'm just not the fancy person that I thought I was. Maybe wine is not for me. I mean, after all those movies, none of the people were brown. They didn't look like me. They were all rich with wine cellars and servants. And I was just a little girl in the country drinking wine with my friends. So I put a pin in it and I just kept that feeling. I kept that idea that maybe not. A few months later, got a little bit of a better job, got a little bit bigger of a budget, and my friends and I went out again. And this time the restaurant where we went had a sommelier, and he gave me some suggestions on what goes with what. And when I realized, maybe this wine thing is not impossible. And so I had a white wine with my fish, and it was wonderful. And I was so excited. I was finally getting that fancy wine experience, and I was hooked. So I started learning more about wine. I started learning about what goes with what and what pairs with what, and different price points, usually lower because I didn't have a lot of disposable income. And when I went out with friends, I didn't always order wine. And like I said, it was a rural area, and although I wasn't broke, I was not too far removed from broke. So when we went out, we normally went to dinner and a movie. So I could either do dinner and a glass of wine, or I could do dinner and a movie, because that's all the budget had room for. So usually it was dinner and a movie. It wasn't until later when I got one of my big girl jobs where I was able to explore a little more. Also working in corporate and going to a lot of corporate dinners, I was exposed to wine at higher price points. And I was able to go to vineyards. I've been able to go to events where I learned more and more and more about wine. And so although I might not be Andre Mack, the GOAT of sommeliers, in my opinion, I am still the wine expert in my circle. But let me back up several years to when I was in my mid-20s and my friends and I were going out. And like I said, there wasn't a lot to do. So we went to the neighboring city one night to this spot called the Cow House, and house was spelled H-A-U-S. Literally a barn with a dirt floor. And the bar was a table with some different kinds of liquors on it. And clearly I didn't know how to read the room, because I went up to the table tender, well, the bartender, and asked him, what kinds of wines do you have? And the guy looked at me and barked, red, annoyed. And I still didn't read the room, and I'm looking, red? What kind of red? Didn't he know that I was a fancy wine drinking person? I had been studying about wine. I wanted to flex on my friends. And here this man is, wine, red, that's it. So as I stood there looking stupid, the gentleman was getting annoyed with me, and he said, do you want it? And I said, do I want what? The red wine. It's like, what kind of red? And then he said, look at here, little mama. Now, I don't know if you know, but in the South, when an older person says, look at here, they are going to tell you about yourself. And that is exactly what he did. He said, we are serving wine on a table in paper cups. Don't act surprised that all we got is red. And I had to laugh because he was right. We were in a barn with a dirt floor, and the bar was a table. So then he asked me again, what would you have? And I said, the red. And he served it to me in a paper cup. Paper cups so cheap that the wine was bleeding through the cup before he could even hand it to me. But if I'm being honest, it wasn't bad. Maybe it was the atmosphere. Maybe it was because I was out with my friends during the week, which I never did. I don't know, but it was fun. And it is something I will remember and tell that story until the day I can't tell that story anymore. Anyway, fast forward to now, and I have a wine collection, and I talk about wine. And my friends and I are going to an event later on where we are going to try all kinds of wines from different vineyards, local and not so local. And I am very, very excited about that. But today, since everyone was so kind to listen to me go on and on and on about wine, we're going to have a little bit of an education. I am going to show you two different glasses, and we're going to see what they're for. So right here we have this one glass, and it's got the wide bowl here. And then we have this other glass, and it's got the narrower bowl. Can't talk, and I haven't even had any wine. One is for red, because the red wine needs room to breathe for the aromas to be able to open up. And this one is for the white, because you want to be able to keep the flavors and the aromas kind of closed. That's my pedestrian explanation. I could get much more fancy, but it's not necessary. To be honest, having different glasses isn't really necessary. All you really need is a vessel to drink wine out of, if I'm being honest. That might be a hot take, but hey, I'm sure we've been to events where you drink wine out of a solo cup. I just told you my paper cup story. Nothing happened to me. I mean, was it as fancy? No, but was it as enjoyable? Yes. So just do what you have. But I will say, if you are trying to live your Olivia Pope moment, there is nothing like drinking wine out of one of these glasses over here. It just gives you all of that extraness that you could ever need. And although I'm sitting here being pretty cavalier about wine and wine drinking, I am definitely not signing off on overconsumption of wine or underage drinking of wine. And we all know the dangers and the legalities of that, but I'm gonna give you something you might not have considered. If you end up on the wrong side of being overserved too many times, that is gonna cut into your life of cute. And nobody has time for that. We want all the cuteness that life has to give us. So be responsible out there. Love and donuts. Bye.